Enjoying a weekend in Berlin, discovering the capital of the Roman Empire, or going for a swim on a Spanish island. People's hopes are high after the European Union agreed upon a digital COVID certificate, a travel pass for those who've been fully vaccinated, already had COVID-19, or have a negative PCR test result, allowing travel within the EU without the need for more tests or quarantine. Almost as if to celebrate the news, the operators of the Eiffel Tower, one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world, announced it will reopen on July 16.
Hi, I'm Ben Fazulin. Denmark is already using COVID passports. The system's been a success. So successful, the Danish government is hoping to start phasing the certificates out in August, along with face masks. That's when all Danes above the age of 16 have been offered a vaccine. Here's DW's Terry Schultz.
Social life is back in full swing in Denmark.
So yeah, of course we're very happy to open, we're happy to see the guests.
The ticket to resuming activities inside or in large groups is the Coronapas, verification that you're fully vaccinated, have immunity to COVID-19, or have tested negative within the last 72 hours. Most people use a mobile phone app.
Start relatively light.
Allowed to resume indoor training in early May, gym owner Emil Lykkegaard Hansen has an entry system worked out.
Usually the first person that shows up will check everybody else's passes. And they get this shiny little hat on, so everybody knows. So today it's Natasha, who is a Corona officer.
And yes, you're vaccinated, yes, perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Less than 20% of Danes are fully vaccinated. So for most people, keeping a Coronapas current requires standing in line to be tested every 3 days.
Maybe half an hour, 40 minutes.
And is it worth it so you get to do this?
Well worth it.
Denmark has the highest testing rate in the European Union, with 500,000 Danes getting checked each day, about 8% of the population. That provides authorities a wealth of information.
Every day, and even almost by the hour, we know the number of positive tested people in Denmark. We know exactly where are they tested, where do they live.
Nielsen says local municipalities can use the data to quickly intervene in case of an outbreak. But privacy advocates insist the personal information revealed by a Coronapas should be strictly limited. The latest version of the app allows almost total anonymity, just showing whether or not you're in the clear. Camilla Gregerson has been working with authorities on this evolution.
Even when we have such a serious situation in society, fighting an epidemic, we shouldn't just skip our fundamental principles about data security and privacy.
But some feel constant monitoring should not be necessary to access social activities. They say that's a violation of their personal freedom.
I don't want to get tested just to get in somewhere when I'm perfectly well.
Ali Sufi is helping organize opposition to the national coronavirus strategy. He views the pass as an example of creeping governmental control.
Why should the state know, like, every time how often you go to union meetings, how often you go to sport clubs, and different patterns of your life?
But most Danes welcome the system as their passport back to liberty. At least one entrepreneurial bar has set up its own testing center to make the wait for that precious green light more bearable with a beer.
Katarina Oka here is an associate professor of law at the University of Copenhagen. A good idea easing restrictions at this point in the pandemic? I mean, only 1 in 5 Danes has been vaccinated.
Well, I think the jury is still out, to be quite honest. It hasn't been an immediate easing of restrictions, so it has been quite gradual to start with, and then basically not as many people have been hospitalized as the models predicted. So there's been quite a lot of pressure from opposition politicians to actually ease the restrictions more quickly. I would say that a big reason that makes the easing potentially less problematic is that there's so much testing going on in Denmark.
And you've got these digital passes. Tell me about them. What needs to be on them data-wise, and where do we have to be careful because of data protection?
Sure, yeah. So we're now using these digital passes to basically go to a restaurant, go to a gym, even actually to go to a university. And obviously this raises data protection questions, like what kind of data is being collected and where it's being stored. So one issue is definitely to have the data stored on the person's mobile phone, and also who the data is being shared with. So we have a very centralized system here in Denmark. So the data is feeding directly. You get a test, and then if your test is positive or negative, this data is immediately transmitted to your phone and obviously not shared with bodies beyond the health authorities and yourselves.
And which data exactly?
Yeah, so it will be the results of your test, and then we all have a personal identification, like a social security number here in Denmark, which this will be linked to. So basically, whether it's positive or negative, your name, your address, and what part of the country obviously you're living in, your age. So all this information is stored in the personal data registry of that we have here in Denmark.
Is there anything, Katarina, if I can ask you, that some governments may like to put on those digital passes that we should say, stop, hang on a second, no, that's going too far?
I mean, probably or definitely, yes. But I mean, I really think the question is more who is it being shared with and for what purposes is it being used? So here in Denmark, it's really used that we have a really good idea of who's actually being infected. And the level of testing that we have going on is so high. So it's about 450,000 people are being tested every day here. And the population is 5.8 million. So what it's really helping us to identify is, are these young people, are these elderly people? And then to predict hospitalizations based on that.
Why are so many people getting tested? Is it because of the encouragement of this digital pass system that's getting them to line up and get the jab?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the testing is really high here because you need to have a negative test for all these services, and you just can't avail of them without the negative test. And the problem on the flip side is that not a very high percentage of Danes have actually been vaccinated here because they've chosen not to use AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson. So the vaccine percentages are not that high. So as a result, people need to be tested to, have a meal or go to a bar.
But the success that Denmark's having, is that based on the fact that it's such a small country and has such a great welfare system?
I think it's definitely a really important element, and also the level of public trust here is also very high compared to a lot of other countries. So I think the same level of questioning has not probably happened here as it would in other countries, maybe like Germany. But yes, I mean, fundamentally, all the testing is free here, and that's an incredibly important element. And also that there are a lot of test centres all around the country. So I'm just 20 minutes from 2 different test centres, for example.
There are also people in other countries who are worried that these passes could create an inequitable society.
Yeah, I think it's a really valid concern. I mean, particularly if, for example, testing isn't free and if a very small percentage of the people have been offered the vaccine. I think here, because testing is free, that's obviously a huge benefit. But on the other hand, I mean, I live in the capital, so there's a lot of opportunities to get tested. Whereas if you live in Western Denmark, in a more rural area, you're going to spend a lot more time actually traveling to a test center to get the test. And this will probably discourage people from going to their local bar or their local restaurant because it's just more of a commitment to time, which some people do have. But if you have young children, if you have a very busy job, it is just that much more difficult. And of course, that can lead to inequalities.
OK, we'll have to wrap it up there. Katarina Oka here, thanks so much for being on our show today.
Thank you.
Time to get you up and close and personal with our science correspondent, Derek Williams. He's already had 1 jab.
Have you been vaccinated yet? If so, did you experience any side effects? Yep, I got my first shot about 10 days ago, not long after healthcare authorities in Germany green-lighted my priority group. It was an interesting experience because I admit I was pretty nervous, and my appointment was at one of Berlin's big vaccine centers. There are 6 of them located in various venues around the city. The one I went to is at one of Berlin's decommissioned airports, where I'd been 1,000 times before, but for a completely different reason, to catch a flight. I was really kind of shocked, I have to say, when I arrived at how long the lines were. The doctor who gave me my shot said that they were administering 4,500 doses there on that day alone. But everything actually moved really pretty quickly and efficiently, and I was in and out in less than an hour. I got one of the messenger RNA vaccines. The only side effect I experienced was a little bit of mild pain at the injection site on my upper arm. I have to admit that I was a little worried about that too, because a lot of friends and family have been vaccinated recently, and reactions have been pretty evenly split between those who say they feel almost nothing and those who experienced more hefty side effects like fever and chills or aching joints or fatigue. But they say that reactions to messenger RNA vaccines are often worse after the second dose. So I'm planning to take a day or 2 off after I get that in June, hopefully. I'll let you know how it goes.
I'm thinking of taking a few days off my second shot. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon here on DW at the latest next week. Have a good weekend.